Yes, actually, that's where we were.
Yes.
We're at Phoenix. Okay.
Yes.
So, what happens after Phoenix? Do you transition out of Phoenix, or does anything new come at Phoenix? Because there's Phoenix, UBS, church.
I got married to somebody who was not very happy with me having too much social interaction. And so...
Where did you guys meet?
At a friend's house.
Okay.
He was... A friend of mine invited me to his girlfriend's birthday party because he wanted me to meet her, because he was serious about her. He wanted to get married. So he wanted me to get to know her so that now the friendship can grow with the three of us. And then my ex was a friend of hers, and she had also invited him. So that's where we met.
And did you date for long?
About a year.
Before now, you got married?
And that time, during the dating, it was fine. But when we got married, now things changed. And I realized he was uncomfortable with me doing stuff outside the house, like literally outside the house. Even hanging out with my friends.
Whoa.
He didn't like that.
So church is not a good story?
Church, we would go.
Okay.
But anything outside of that was... So I dropped out of Phoenix. I regret that, because that was one of the things that I was really passionate about. But I was trying to do everything I could to make this marriage work. So if it meant, stop hanging out with your friends, I'd stop going to Phoenix. And he didn't tell me don't go.
Yep.
But he just made it clear that I don't like this. So I wanted to be a good wife, so I stopped.
Yo, that's crazy.
There's things we do for men.
That's crazy. And the power that men have as well over their wives.
Yeah.
So
but remember, there was still that timidity of,
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to live at peace with all men. And sometimes it means putting me aside and doing what I believe they want so that they are happy. If they're happy, then life is good.
So how long were you married?
I was okay, I'm trying to figure out how to answer that, because I was not really married in that sense. I mean, we had a wedding and everything, but from day one, everything just...
From day one?
Yeah, everything fell apart.
It was that fast?
It was that fast.
So, and by the way, feel free if there's anything that you don't want to talk about.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm trying to be...
Yes, but I'm asking for the sake of somebody who's watching this who may be in the same situation. That's the whole core of why I do sit here, to inspire, educate, and positively entertain somebody. So you're with this person who's in a certain way before you get married, to the point where, hey, I want to get married. Are you trying to say were there signs before that?
There always are.
Okay.
They always are. I mean, everybody that I've spoken with that is going through a situation like this, they always say there were signs. But for whatever reason, you ignore them.
Why did you ignore them?
I ignored them because I thought he would change. He'd be so happy that he's married me that he would want to. The same thing. I would do anything for this marriage to work. So I felt he would also want to do everything to make the marriage work. But
that wasn't the case. So literally from the I do, next day, it's a different...
I mean, from I do, he didn't talk to me for a while. It was that bad.
From I do?
Yeah. That evening, I mean, we went for our evening thingy.
Yeah.
Already. He had switched off.
What?
Yeah.
So how do you stay, or you're trying to fix in your head?
I bend over backwards. Me dies. So my life became, I'm getting emotional. My life became of trying to read him when he walks in, and then forming myself to fit into that. So if he walks in and he's happy, we're happy. if he walks in and he's in a bad mood, I stay away.
If you were to, you're wiser now, you're much wiser, and experience has made you wiser. What would you say to yourself then?
Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut, and just don't do things just for the heck of it. Because I even the day of the wedding, I felt like I had a chance to not go through with it. But I just kept thinking about, what will people say? They're at the venue right now waiting for me. And then one person shows up and says, sorry, the wedding is over. You know, it's just, how do you live with that? You know? And that's when I convinced myself, no, it'll be fine.
What about your family?
My family,
your direct family?
They had misgivings, but they didn't speak about it.
Because of course they're like, listen, we don't want to lose our...
Yeah, they actually felt, I mean, we spoke about it later, and I was like, you know, you guys should have said something. And they said, we didn't think you would listen. But I'm always like, I mean, even now, if I have a friend who's getting married and I feel like I'm not sure, I'll ask them. Some of them get upset with me, you know, but I'm like, I don't want someone to ever say, I wish somebody had asked me. Because you don't know. Maybe they'll have that second thought or whatever. So,
like if somebody came to speak to you at your wedding and told you don't have to go through this, I'm there with you, you probably, and if it's someone like your mom or dad, you probably would have had second thoughts.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
But I also had what Christians call fear of man. So you don't want to, you care too much what people will think or say about what you're doing, to the extent that sometimes you will do what you don't really believe because it keeps you, or it keeps the talk or whatever. And it wasn't like even people were saying anything about me. But somehow I was like, I don't know if I can live with that.
Okay, so how long were you in this period?
So
And how old are you at this time?
30s.
Your 30s. Okay.
So we lived in the same house until for 5 years, and then he moved out. 5
years. Man, I don't even understand how you had the strength to do this if you're saying that this started at day one.
Even me, I don't know. But I lost myself. All these things that God had been building in me
crushed.
I became so, like I didn't think I was worth anything. I didn't think I was. Self-esteem crushed completely. Because I couldn't understand why doesn't he seem to love me? I mean, I thought I'm a good person. But from the way things are going, I must be not interesting, not attractive, not lovable. And I carried that with me.
You believed the lies?
I believed it.
So now you must have been timid, and even now just on another level. So when you would go and meet family members, friends, did you change persona?
Oh, everybody had to believe the marriage was well.
Oh, man.
You know, now speaking about it, that was crazy. So on one side, I'm dealing with all this whatever. And on the other side, I'm trying to keep everybody, you know.
So they didn't know?
They didn't know. They well, my family got to find out, I think, when I was expecting my son. Yeah, let me not go into those details, but
no
they got to find out through events that things were not good at all.
Okay.
And so that's when they started kind of, you know, just trying to give me some support here and there. Then actually my youngest sister was now getting married, and we decided, because we are a very close-knit family, and we're like, she's getting married and my other sister's getting married, we don't want to separate and break the bond. And by this time my mom had passed on, and she really kept us together. And so we decided, or she decided, my sister, like, they'll start a Bible study, a family Bible study. So whoever had a spouse at that time would come. So my sister and her siblings, so my other sister and I were invited. The third born lives in the States, so she wasn't here much. And then my sister's husband invited his siblings, and those who are married would come with their spouses.
Yep.
So we'd meet every week, and just spend time in prayer, studying, whatever. And they now became like my pillar. Yeah. So even by the time I was getting sick, it was these guys who stood with me.
Okay. There's something that you've mentioned. So it's within your marriage is when your mom also passes on?
No, it was just before.
Or just before your mom?
Just before.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel maybe if she'd been around, I might have, because we'd listen to her. Yeah.
And she'd see.
She would see. By the way, she had that sense. She even told me many years ago, I have seen your husband. I'm like, so what does he look like? So she tried, but she wasn't good at describing, And so I tried to. So when I met this guy, I tried to fit him into. Yeah.
Well, Mayani, sorry does not even begin to explain anything. Again, you don't have to answer. Did it get physically abusive?
No, mostly emotional.
But still, that's
that
huge.
That was what now killed me.
The reason why I ask this is I always think about somebody who's watching this, and this is, again, I said with you, in fact now I've really understood why we're to have this conversation. With you in this story, as you give your story, I believe that people are going to get inspired, entertained, as crazy as it sounds, encouraged, educated. And through your story you're going to help other people. Emotional abuse is as bad as physical abuse, if not even worse. And the reason
we were brought up to believe divorce is wrong. Anything that is going on. I mean, there's even a time I called him to one of the Christian radio stations, and I said, I'm going through this. At that time we were separated. What do I do? And they said, no, you have to go back. You have to go back. So it's not seen as it's a thing that is destroying you, So there's just no space for a bad marriage. At least at that time there was no space for a bad marriage. I even tried to call the church, guys in church, like, guys. In fact, 2 weeks after, I went and told them, I'm going home. I can't deal. And they said, no, you have to stay.
No way.
You just started. It's only whatever. So I started, like, when we finished, I was
2 weeks after you said I do,
you
went to
Yes. So I started advocating for post-marital counseling. Like, yes, you get told a lot of things before you get married. And then you get married and you're like, what's going on? It doesn't, whatever. So you need someone to walk with you. At least those, this is happening. Is it normal? So somebody can just reassure you as you go through the beginning stages of adjusting to each other.
And in this whole marriage time, you didn't have even that one person who you let it all out to? That must have been a hard season.
Not until later.
So, does your son come at this time?
Yes.
When you're married?
Yes. Miracle.
Why do you say miracle?
Yeah, he was a miracle child. Let me just say that.
Okay, no problem. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'll just let you continue the story. So you get separated.
Yeah.
And this is okay.
Wait, before that, I have 2 children.
Yes. You. Okay, go on.
I have 2 children.
Yeah, but I know 2 boys.
I gave birth to 1 and I adopted 1. And there are also challenges around that, but I really felt that my son is the one who opened the door for me to get this one, the one I conceived.
You adopted first? Because of the challenges?
What happened? See, marriage had already started. So I used to go to New Life to just like, I don't want to go home alone and be alone. I'm married. I shouldn't be in that house alone. So let me look for something to do. So I started going to volunteer there. And I met him and we fell in love with each other. He was, he'd been there for a few months and I don't know, we got drawn to each other. And I would go there every day and play with him and give him his last feed and tuck him in bed. And then I'd go home. And we got so attached to each other that at some point they told me, you know, you need to decide, because this boy is getting really attached to you. If somebody else comes to take him, because even the days you don't come, he's like, he gives us trouble, because he won't settle down, because he's used to you being the one. And we'd never spoken about adoption, and I knew my marriage was not good. So, but I was like, this child, why is he there and I have a home? I can love him, he can love me back. At least I can give him something that he needs. And I guess for me, there was also the thing of like, I would also be able to have somebody for myself. And so I just took him home one day.
Did you tell the other party?
I took him home one day. And he's like, who is this? I said, this is my son. Well, I didn't say it's my son. I said, it's him. And he's like, why have you brought him home? I said, I want to adopt him. And he kept quiet at that time. But after that, his mother tried to dissuade me. And when she saw I was determined, she tried to introduce other, more acceptable children. But I was determined. This was the child I had grown to love, and I wanted him in my life. And so we went through the process, and
you know, for somebody timid, you have done some very crazy things. And how is it now? Because that's now love entering your home, which you felt like was missing.
Oh, he's my son. Yeah, they're my children. They're the same to me.
Yep.
And the interesting thing was that the day he moved home officially, I conceived my second son.
No way.
Because all before I'd had miscarriages or whatever. But that's why I said he opened the door for me to get his brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Doris, you've got such deep stories, because miscarriages alone it's a whole other world, you know, that people are going through. So I can imagine the blessing of getting 2 children at once, because that's what literally.
Yeah, they're 18 months apart.
That's what literally God did for you. Because the day you get home is the day now. Okay, so now when what was the trigger?
So
what is the turning point? Yeah.
For
him to leave. Yeah.
I changed. Because I was. Can we pause?
Yep.